talk now about the minimum wage. We have minimum wage hikes taking effect today in several cities and states around the country. The former McDonald's USA CEO is Ed Rensi, and a lot of people are against these moves. Are you worried, Ed, that raising the minimum wage is just a bad idea, period? It just doesn't work economically? Or is it the extent that, we're going up so much that we can't handle it eventually to $15 in many places?
Well, in my opinion, this is really all about the Democratic Party and its leadership trying to buy votes in key states and cities that they need for this presidential election. These are, if you look at the cities, if you look at the states, they're big urban areas that have a lot of unemployment in the minority communities. This is going to be inflationary, and I found it very interesting that when President Obama was in Canada at this last conference, he talked about the fact that automation has caused more job loss than has trade policy. And I think he's absolutely right. And I also think it's been trade policy, by the way. But significantly increasing to a $15 wage is going to cause companies to increase automation. You can already start to see it in hotels that are not doing maid service in the rooms every day. They're giving you the option of not doing it and blaming it on global warming. It's nonsense.
Many examples
job
that you see
loss is coming
as a way that this kind of plays out. So is the idea? That's why I get back to that original question. Is it just too much to go up to 15? Would a smaller increase have been okay, or is it just period doesn't make sense economically to you?
Well, it depends on where you're at and what you're talking about. First of all, I think the minimum wage ought to be a state issue because regionally people know better what the cost of living increases are like and what's needed.
Right. So no federal. There should be no federal minimum wage period.
Absolutely not.
Okay.
The New York, Manhattan minimum wage ought to be higher than Keokuk, Iowa.
Right.
But let's get realistic about it. This is a political issue. It's not a wage or standard of living issue.
Now, from a business person's point of view, you're still running your unit there at McDonald's, and they come to you. What's the first conversation you start to have? Are you worried immediately about firing people? Is that what the thought is when this?
Well, I don't work for McDonald's anymore, but I have 3 of my own restaurants, Tom-and-Eddie restaurants in Chicago suburbs. And we are in a debate every minute of every day talking about how we can reduce costs. Commodity costs, labor costs, and occupancy costs are the 3 big bills. And you can control labor. And you've got to reduce labor. And automation is the #1 choice because it's cheaper to have machines than people. You don't have the headaches that go along with it. And you got to get more efficient with training and things of that nature. And the customers are going to pay more for the product. We have got to raise prices. And a $15 minimum wage in Chicago would result probably in about a 6 to 10% price increase in most products in restaurants. This is craziness that just has no end.
Now, to some extent, wouldn't that move towards automation just because the technology is available, it's becoming cheaper, and it's becoming easier to implement? Wouldn't that happen anyway? Wouldn't it happen no matter what the minimum wage is? And isn't it already happening?
It is, but absolutely, Connell, you're absolutely spot on about that. But it will accelerate the rate at which that happens. It will speed up the acquisition of capital cost items that are going to eliminate people. So you've got a spiral here that's accelerated, and it's a ball rolling down the hill, and it's going to gain speed. At $15, it's going to really pick up speed.
What do you think of the political candidates and the way they've handled it? As you say, the Democrats are fairly predictable on this, and your point is well taken about the areas that they're looking at. And yes, you're right, there may be some political advantages to raising the minimum wage there. Certainly people say, oh, they got us more money. We understand that's a very simple argument. But how has Trump come in on all of these issues? He's not a traditional Republican, even on some of the topics we've been talking about the last few minutes.
Well, the thing is, I don't think either one of the candidate groups, whether it's Clinton or Trump, talk enough strategically about the issues. And the strategic issue is we need to create jobs in this country because we've got too many people that have just given up going to work. They just quit working. And we can't have that. We've got to have a viable middle class that's moving forward. Bernie Sanders says everything's free. There's nobody left working that's going to be able to pay the taxes to keep this machine going. So we need a strategic discussion. And I'd like to hear more from both candidates on what's the best way to grow jobs and have a viable economy and get some of these taxes and regulations out of the way of small businesses so we can grow again. We've got a pitiful growth rate in this country.
Thank you, Ed Rensi, formerly at McDonald's, where he was the CEO of the Americas, or the USA. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate you coming on.
Happy to be here. Thank you.